On a night when the wind sang through the trees like an old forgotten lullaby, the moon hung low over the Danish countryside, casting silver paths across the darkened fields. In a small, quiet kingdom, the castle walls glimmered faintly in the moonlight, as if they were holding on to some secret. Inside those walls, a young soldier named Eric was standing guard, his breath making small clouds in the cool night air. He had heard many stories in his life, but none so strange as the one that had brought him here tonight, to guard a locked room that no one dared to enter, and to keep watch over what the villagers only called the cursed chest. The story had begun years ago, when the king's only daughter, Princess Alina, was struck by a mysterious illness. Her laughter faded, her voice grew quiet, and one day she slipped into a deep, unshakable sleep. No healer, no wise woman, no charm could wake her. In desperation, the king called upon a strange old man from the far hills, a man said to know both magic and misfortune. The man examined the princess, his eyes dark with worry. "I can save her from death," he said, "but the price will be heavy. She must be sealed in a chest for 1 year and 1 day, guarded every night from sunset to dawn. On the final night, if her guard keeps watch without fail, she will awaken, but if he fails, she will be lost forever." The king agreed, for what father would not cling to hope? And so the princess was placed gently into a carved wooden chest lined with silk, and the chest was locked with 3 iron locks. A guard was set each night, but one after another, they failed. Some claimed they had fallen asleep without knowing it. Others fled the castle and refused to speak of what they had seen. The year passed, and only 1 night remained. This was the night Eric had been chosen. He was young, steady, and unshaken by the tales of shadows slipping under doors or strange whispers in the dark. He carried only his sword, his courage, and a small wooden cross his grandmother had given him. The chamber was cold when he entered, lit only by a single candle whose flame shivered in the air. The chest stood in the center, its wood dark and polished, its 3 locks glinting like eyes in the flickering light. Eric sat in the chair beside it, his gaze fixed on the shadows. Hours passed. The castle slept. Somewhere far off, a clock chimed midnight. It began with a sound, faint, like a sigh, coming from inside the chest. Eric gripped his sword but did not move. Then came another sound, this one sharper, like a nail scraping along the inside of the wood. His heart pounded, but he held his ground. The locks rattled, once, twice, then fell silent. The candlelight dimmed, and the air grew colder, until Eric could see his breath like pale smoke. Slowly, the first lock clicked open by itself and dropped to the floor. Eric rose to his feet. From inside the chest came a voice, soft and pleading. "Please, let me out. I am cold, and I cannot breathe. Just open the lid for a moment." Her voice was beautiful, like the first note of a song, and for a heartbeat, Eric's hand twitched toward the lock. But then he remembered the king's warning and tightened his grip on the sword. "I cannot," he said firmly. "Your time has not yet come." The voice fell silent, but from the corner of the room, a shadow began to stretch across the floor. It slid toward him, blacker than the darkness itself, curling like smoke around his feet. Eric whispered a prayer and held the wooden cross high. The shadow recoiled with a hiss and vanished. The second lock sprang open and fell to the floor. Midnight deepened into the cold hours of the morning. Eric's eyelids grew heavy, but he forced them open again and again. Then, as the clock began to chime 3, the lid of the chest rose a crack, though the last lock still held. From the gap slipped a pale hand, graceful and white, reaching toward him. The fingers beckoned. "Eric," the voice said again, sweeter now, "just 1 kiss, and I will be free. Only you can save me." For a moment, his heart ached. She sounded so lonely, so alive. But deep inside, he felt a warning that this was no simple princess, not yet. "No," he said more firmly than before. "If you are truly the princess, you can wait until the morning sun." The hand froze, then twisted, the fingers lengthening into claws before retreating back into the chest. The lid slammed shut, and the final lock glowed faintly in the dark, holding fast. Eric's courage wavered, but he tightened his grip on his sword. The room was utterly still. Even the candle seemed frozen in time. He waited, his ears straining for any sound, until at last the first pale light of dawn spilled through the high window. The moment sunlight touched the chest, a great crack rang out, and the lid burst open. A warm, golden light filled the chamber, and there, sitting upright, was Princess Alina. Her cheeks flushed, her eyes clear, and her hair spilling over her shoulders like sunlight over silk. She blinked in the light, then smiled at him, and it was like seeing spring break through the heart of winter. "You have freed me," she said softly. "Many tried, but only you were steadfast." She stepped from the chest, and the heavy wooden box began to crumble into dust until nothing remained. The king wept with joy when he saw his daughter, and he embraced Eric as both a savior and a son. The castle filled with music and celebration, but Eric never forgot the darkness of that room or the voices that had tried to sway him. In time, the princess and Eric grew close, for what bond is stronger than one forged through courage and trust? And when they married, the people of the kingdom spoke often of that final night, of the soldier who had guarded the princess not just with his sword, but with his heart. From then on, Eric kept the wooden cross by his side, a reminder that sometimes the hardest thing to do is simply to stand your ground and keep your promise, even when temptation calls in the sweetest voice. And the lesson of the chest? That what is most precious must be protected with patience, courage, and faith, for some treasures are not meant to be opened before their time. Like, comment, and subscribe for more magical tales. And don't forget to press the bell icon. If you were guarding the princess on that last night, do you think you could resist the voice from the chest? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.